Thursday night football is here, and we have some excellent action on tonight's card. I'm going to dive into it, and I do have one CBB winner for you guys on the way. This is the free three. Let's go. What's up, guys? It's your boy Noble Living back with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we try to get to the bag together and make that money. Yesterday, full fade of a day. 0-3 in the most heartbreaking way. Virginia on the spread. Just couldn't get it done. No excuse there. They won the game outright. Campbell kept hitting shots. Just Virginia slowed down the tempo late in the game. I think they were just trying to milk the clock. So tough loss there. SGA points and assists. We needed 35. He got 34, so we lost on the hook. And then Jalen Durant's points and rebounds. He only played 8 minutes in the first quarter, got injured, and then he was done. He had like 3 rebounds in the first quarter there. He had no points, but I was expecting him to kind of get it going a little bit later on in the day. So full fade, 0-3. Some things didn't go our way, such as the injury. Somewhere a hook, and then again, just a flat-out loss on Virginia there. So a rough start to the month of November. You can see our record right here. Whew. It's going to be an uphill climb, but the good thing is we have about 25 more days to go crazy, so I'm not going to overthink it. Let's just come back every single day, ready to play, ready to deliver, and college basketball is here. So I'm going to take a break from NBA today. Only 3 games on the slate today, so we're going to take a slight little break there, and we'll just focus on the Thursday night football matchup, and then we'll get into one CBB winner, which I'm about to give you guys right now. So let's get into it. All right, first best bet of the day for this Tuesday card. We're going to go to the Central Michigan and Stony Brook game. Yes, it is an ugly game. There are a few other college basketball games that you guys can look at on this Thursday card that I do like. The line has just moved a lot. At the time that I'm recording this video, and it's just like 9 o'clock in the morning, the line has still like moved drastically. I liked Florida when they were at 21.5. Now they're up to like 23, 24. That's a little bit tough against Jacksonville, but I do like them. I like St. Mary's at home against UT Chattanooga, my alumni school. Like, I like that school, but they're just outclassed. St. Mary's at home is tough, but that line's already moved by 5 points as well. So again, it's that time of the year where we're going to be laying big spreads. We're going to be laying big numbers. This one has a 5.5 point spread in favor of Central Michigan, but I'm not actually going to take Central Michigan here, even though I do think they win this game and do cover the spread. Instead, I'm going to take a look at the total here, and we're going to go over 139.5 minus 110 odds. Now, the beautiful thing is that both of these teams already have a game underneath their belt. Stony Brook lost to Marquette in their opening game 102-62. I mean, obviously it's a blowout loss for Stony Brook there, but I mean, it's Marquette, one of the top teams in the country year after year. We know what they can do when you have a smaller program like Stony Brook playing against a big school like Marquette. Meanwhile, Central Michigan won their first game of the regular season, and that game was against South Alabama, and they won that game 74-70. So both of these two teams respectively went over their total of 139.5, 140 in their opening matchup. But the reason why I like the overall over in this game instead of laying the points with Central Michigan is the fact that Central Michigan did not look too good in the second half against South Alabama. Again, they won that game 74-70, but if you look at the numbers a little bit deeper, Central Michigan was leading that game at halftime 38-23. So they literally had a 15-point lead in that game, and they end up winning the game by only 4 points. That means they give up 47 points in the second half. That is tough. And a Stony Brook team that is obviously not that good, but they dropped 62 points against Marquette. That can give them a little bit of confidence in this matchup to say, you know what, we might be able to steal a game on the road against Central Michigan. We may be able to shoot and score against them, but a reason why I don't think Stony Brook is going to pull out the win is just because they have way too many transfers. They're literally their 5th leading scorer from last year, who was averaging 5 points per game, is the only player that's returned from this team. So literally all 5 of their starters left, and now they had to rebuild everything from the transfer portal, and Stony Brook's not a school where you're getting big name players anyway, even at the mid-major level. So it's tough to see that. And then again, I'm just going to lean with the side of the over here because Central Michigan does like to play fast. We saw them score 74 points, and they have 5 guys on their team who average at least 10 points per game last season, so you love to see that. So overall, I'm just going to go with the over here. I don't trust Central Michigan's defense. I don't trust Stony Brook's defense at all. So Stony Brook's defense is ranked 295th in KenPom. They're ranked 289 themselves in KenPom. KenPom has a 73-69 finish, so that gets us to a total of about 142, going over this number of 139.5. I'm taking the over here. Give me the over between Central Central Michigan and Stony Brook as our first pick of the day. For our second best bet of the day, let's go to the Thursday Night Football matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. A lot is on the line for both of these teams as the Bengals come into this matchup 4-5, desperate for another big win after they picked up a win last week against the Raiders. Meanwhile, the Ravens find themselves 6-3 in this matchup, 3-1 at home, following a win last week at home to the Denver Broncos, which was a complete blowout, 41-10. So who's going to get it done? Well, we saw these two teams face off a few weeks ago, and we saw the Ravens come back and win that game 41-38. Derrick Henry had a big run in overtime to win that game for them, but that was really the Bengals, in my honest opinion, losing that game rather than the Ravens coming back and winning that game. But instead of picking a side in this one, as we have a 6-point spread in favor of the Ravens here, I'm just going to go take a look at the total, and we're going to go under 53, and we're going to go minus 115 odds on that. Shop around, see what you can get. The line has already moved from about 53.5 down to 53. This is just way too high of a number, okay? I get it. Both of these offenses went crazy the last time that they faced each other. 41-38 was the final score of that last game. The big thing about that matchup is this, or the big difference, I should say. There were players who were playing in that game who are not going to be playing the game. Everybody knows about the T. Higgins injury news. Is he going to be playing? Is he not? If he does not play, this game goes under. Joe Burrow struggles without T. Higgins, and that also helps the Ravens here, who can literally single in on Ja'Marr Chase. We know how Chase has destroyed the Ravens historically in his career. We understand that the Ravens have one of the worst pass defenses in all the NFL. They're bottom 5 right now in pass yards allowed per game. We know what Joe Burrow can do and how this offense has kind of taken more of a pass-aggressive approach to their season at this point. But for me, it's still tough without your number 2 wide receiver there. That's going to open up the entire field. That's going to make things easier for Ja'Marr Chase. So for me, if T. Higgins does not play, this is a bona fide under. It is a short week. It is a divisional matchup. Two teams that are familiar with each other, played each other already this year. Everything leans towards the under, and it's just a number that is just way, way, way too high. And then on the other side for the Ravens, Isaiah Likely is probably not playing in this game as well, which is another downfield threat. I know that he's a tight end, but he's a guy who normally stretches the field way more than Mark Andrews does, so that can allow Cincinnati Bengals defense to zone in on Zay Flowers and not allow him to have these big dynamic plays. We saw huge big plays in the first game between both of these teams. I don't see that happening. I'm expecting an old AFC North divisional, just grind it out type of game. Not saying that we don't get some explosive plays, not saying that we don't get some fireworks, but 53 points is just way too high of a total here for me, given the injury news that's surrounding both of these teams. I'm taking the under. Look at the numbers for Joe Burrow when he plays without T. Higgins. He's only been able to crack 250 yards once, and that was last week against the Las Vegas Raiders, which is not saying too much. So for me, with a high number for Joe Burrow at 280 passing yards, I'm not willing to lay that. Kind of just an overvaluation here for both of these teams. Short week, give me the under as our first pick for the Thursday Night Football matchup. For our last and final best bet, and our other pick inside the Thursday Night Football game, because I do think that the Bengals are going to throw the ball a lot, because the defense is going to be zoned in on T. Higgins and Mike Gesicki, I think it's going to open up the field for a player who's actually been performing very well. And the reason why I know he's been performing well, because I picked him up off the waiver wire from fantasy a few weeks ago, and that's Mr. Chase Brown. And we're going to take over 23.5 receiving yards, and that's minus 110 odds. Now, Chase Brown is a player that's kind of been like a renaissance for the Bengals this year. So now we see Zach Moss, who's going down with a neck injury. He might come back for the playoffs, but he's pretty much done for the regular season. Chase Brown has played 9 games, and he's been able to rack up about 12 attempts per game with a total of 479 yards. That's good for about 53 yards per game and about 4.5 yards per carry. That's not too shabby for Chase Brown, the second-year player. But one thing that we do know that he can also do really well is catch the ball out of the backfield. So that, for me, is the opportunity that we see with Chase Brown. I do know that the Bengals traded this past week for Khalil Herbert from the Bears, but this is the thing. Khalil Herbert, he's like a between the tackles back. He's a red zone back. He's not a back that is especially going to be out there on third down. And for me, that open up the floor for somebody like Chase Brown to be able to catch the ball a few times. If you look at some of his numbers, last week he was able to get 5 receptions for 37 yards. And I think that we're going to see something very repeatable of a performance today because, again, like I mentioned, what the defense is going to do, but also the Ravens are a team that give up receiving yards to running backs. We saw that last week. Javonte Williams, who's not even that much of a reception back, he had 2 receptions for 42 yards, including 1 34-yard that he was able to break out. So that's one of the things that I can see from Chase Brown getting involved in the screen game. So I'm not overthinking it. I'm just taking another receiver here for the Bengals who should be getting involved, especially if there's no T. Higgins today. Well, that's it for me today, my friends. Three best bets, three winners that I've been able to give you guys real quickly on this Thursday night card. Give me Central Michigan over 139.5 in college basketball. And then for the Thursday night football matchup, give me the under 53 between the Bengals and the Ravens, and Chase Brown over 23.5 receiving yards. All right, my friends. I'll maybe have one or two plays I'll add a little bit later. If you want that, click the link in the description, join the free Discord group, and I've got you guys. All right, my friends, let's get to that cheddar, and I'll see you on tomorrow's video. Later, gang.